This year, California endured its deadliest, most destructive wildfires in the state's history. And that's saying something. In early November, multiple fires burned at once, including what became known as the Camp Fire, which killed at least 86 people and destroyed close to 14,000 homes. The man who has led the state of California for a combined 16 years as governor is outgoing Governor Jerry Brown. He's been a champion of environmental causes and has been outspoken on this issue since his first term in the 1970s. And this morning, Governor Brown is at the state's Office of Emergency Services outside of Sacramento, where the state's emergency management personnel oversee disaster preparedness, response, relief, and recovery, which means it's a 24-hour operation, sadly, all the time these days. Governor Brown, welcome back to Meet the Press, sir.
Great. Good to be here.
So, look, you don't say
the first time I was here.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the first time I was on the show was, I think, 1975. So.
Well, here we are. We do have a long history. The word wildfire is not in print anymore without the word California in front of it, it feels like these days. You have seen your share of wildfire seasons. You have seen your share of natural disasters. Try to put into context what you're experiencing this year and why it's bigger than just a wildfire issue this time.
Well, it's bigger because the fire season, instead of being a few months around the summer, a little bit in the fall, is year-long. And we saw that with the fires both in the north and the southern part of the state at the same time. That hasn't happened before. Usually one would burn, then it would stop, and then the southern part of the state would burn with the Santa Ana winds. So it's new, and it leads not just to fires, it leads to mudslides. And then, of course, you're going to see with the heavy storms and rains, as the snows melt faster or the rain or don't come at all, we're going to find a lot of inundation of a good part of the state. So we see it. We see it in the fear in people's eyes as they fled,
right.
Many elderly who died. This is real. It's dangerous. And we got to wake up the country, wake up the world, and we got to start with the man in the White House who want to get off his business that it just requires raking leaves in the bottom of the forest there. Really crazy idea.
I was just going to say, he came out and toured. Frankly, it was after that weird comment he made about raking. And you seemed to, did you feel like you made any progress in convincing him this is not something that's distinctive or unique to now. This is a larger issue with the climate?
No, I don't think I did. I do appreciate that he came, that the president has made funding available under the emergency acts of Congress. So that's all good. But I would say he is very convinced of his position, and his position is that there's nothing abnormal about the fires in California or the rising sea level or all the other incidents of climate change.
You've both been a mayor and a governor. You've had to see people become temporary refugees from their home. At what point do you feel as if that politicians in positions like the governorship of California are going to have to start proposing restrictions on where people live and basically saying, you know what, we just can't build here because we can't afford to basically maintain people living this close to the water or living this close to wildfire damage or living this close to a place that's susceptible to mudslides?
Well, look, now we got to keep making. We have to make those proposals now, but we already have restrictions. People want to go build housing in floodplains. California prevents that, but the zone of danger from fire and a flood is far bigger, much bigger. So the politics of that will unfold slowly. But the facts are on the ground, and the politicians, however painful it will be politically, will follow a course now to restrict building in areas that are just too dangerous.
I got to ask you, I'm curious about the Yellow Vest movement and what you think, why that has been such a struggle for Macron there, and what lessons we should take away here. I want to Joanna Heyer, who writes this in City Lab. She is a UC Davis I think, postgraduate student. She writes this: if everyone in the state, talking about California, if everyone in the state had equal access to quality public transportation, the gas tax would be a fair incentive to motivate people to ditch their cars. As it is, it punishes people for not having access to transit options that meet their needs. It seems to me the Yellow Vest movement in France, that's the disconnect there. You won your gas tax fight, but rural Californians didn't like it.
No, they don't. They don't like a lot of things. They voted against housing bonds. They voted for the Republican Cox, who didn't even make 40%. So there's the same divide in California as in America. The red is different than the blue, and it's associated definitely with rural areas. But I would say in terms of what happened in France, I believe the president cut back on taxes for the very wealthy. At the same time, he imposed what is essentially a sales tax on working and poor people. So that was very different than our own gas tax, when we taxed the wealthy very substantially, and then we went to the state and said, stick and reaffirm this gas tax, and they did by over 13 points. It's incredible. So people are ready to build if they believe that the money will be spent right, and they understand it's helping their community. So yes, we need more rapid transit. We need trains.
Yeah.
We need more efficient cars. We need all of that, and that's why this climate change is not just adapting, it's inventing new technology. It's instead of complaining about the Chinese putting all their money into batteries and artificial intelligence and new kind of cars, we have to put more money in America. So instead of worrying about tariffs, I like to see the president and the Congress invest tens of billions in renewable energy, in more efficient batteries to get us off fossil fuel as quickly as we can. I would point to the fact that it took Roosevelt many, many years to get America willing to go into World War II and fight the Nazis. Well, we have an enemy, though different, but perhaps very much devastating in a similar way, and we got to fight climate change, and the president's got to lead on that.
I want to get you to respond to something that was written in the LA Times earlier this month by Jacques Leslie, and it goes this way. In recent years, the state has suffered an array of environmental woes, to varying degrees climate-related. The catastrophic fires, drought, heat waves, encroaching sea levels, dwindling fish stocks, toxic air quality, to name just a few. Jerry Brown's climate efforts have been profoundly important. It's a measure of the breadth of the environmental crisis that they haven't been nearly enough. And it was very both complimentary, and at the same time it wasn't enough. Is that how you feel as you leave the governorship? You've done everything you can and you feel like it still wasn't enough, or is there more you could have done?
No, not enough. Not even close. And not close in California, and we're doing more than anybody else, and not close in America or the rest of the world. Look, we've got to get those zero-emission cars on the road. We have to figure out new ways of making cement. We got to clean up our ships, which are creating more pollution than California and Texas put together. The technology, the investment, the lifestyle changes, the land use changes. This is a revolutionary threat, and we've got to get off this idea it's the economy, stupid. No, it's the environment, it's the ecology that we have to get on the side of, and we only do that with wisdom, with investment, and widespread collaboration and working together. So that's a good criticism. Some of his ideas I thought were not as important as the ones we're trying to push.
But I knew it was going to bring out that final answer, and I think it was about as good of a summary of what needs to be done as anybody could have put together. Governor Jerry Brown, as you pointed out, you've been coming on Meet the Press since 1975. I hope this is not your last appearance, sir. I look forward to it again.
Okay, I hope not either.
All right. Hey, NBC News.